Welcome on to the show tonight, guys. This is Eddie from Studio 321. So the auto pen, I know you've been hearing a lot about it on the news lately. They keep talking about who is signing all these documents for Joe Biden. So we're going to break that down. We're going to get into the auto pen itself if you don't know what that is. But anyways, first, guys, please like and subscribe. Remember, guys, subscribe to my channel because YouTube does not like conservative content. They will not help spread it. So we have to do it on our own. So you like and subscribe. It helps spread the algorithm because we're not going to get any help from YouTube. But anyways, guys, so let's get down to it. So the auto pen, what is it? Okay. Auto pen is a device used by people who have to do massive signing. Okay. In other words, if you had to sign 1,000 documents, you couldn't just sit there and sign them. Well, you could, but it'd probably take you an hour, and you'd wearing your hand out, and you couldn't do that every day. Well, presidents, leaders, celebrities, a lot of times they have to do a lot of signing. So there's a device called the auto pen, and what it does is you set it up in a way to where you put your signature in it. And it will, with a little robotic arm, it can mass sign, document after document after document. So it's an official way for you to sign it without you happen to touch it yourself. And the robot arm does all the work, and it can do thousands of documents a day. So, but here's the kicker: it has to be authorized by the person with that particular signature. So in other words, if let's say Joe Biden is supposed to sign documents, he's supposed to use the auto pen, not somebody else, right? And or the use of the auto pen in his signing is supposed to be authorized by him. Okay? So well, what does that mean? So here's the thing. Lately, obviously, they've been calling into question, like, how is Joe Biden running the country? And then, all these all the news articles are coming out saying that he wasn't running the country. They were just covering for him, that he was actually incapable of running it. There's been a lot of, even the liberal media has been coming out saying that, there was a big cover up and blah, 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 blah. So what that does is that immediately brought into the question, okay, well, who was making all these decisions for Joe Biden if he wasn't the one making the decision? Because it's come to light that he really wasn't the one making the decisions, okay? So if he wasn't doing it, then who was? And all his signatures on all this stuff, was he really the one signing these things, or was it just somebody else using his signature for the auto pen? Because they're saying now that he was so bad, some days, he didn't even know where he was, like stuff like that. Like he probably wasn't even the one signing these documents. So basically what you had is a group of people around him making decisions for him, which that's not the way it's supposed to work. If that's what's happening, the 25th Amendment is supposed to immediately be invoked, and then the president is supposed to be taken out of office and the vice president is supposed to take over. But you see, that was the big problem. Everybody knew Kamala Harris was an idiot. So they didn't want to take him out and have her become the president because she couldn't. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pick on her all night. She can't do anything right, okay? We all know that. I don't care what anybody says. We've all watched it. She can't do anything right. So they kept her hidden the whole time. So they didn't want to take him out of office and replace him with her. So what they did is it covered the fact that he was in such bad shape. But then again, that brings to the surface, well, who was making, signing all this stuff into law that had Joe Biden's signature on it? Now, it was all auto pen, okay? But who was authorizing that? Because actually, if they take this to court, and I'm sure, it would probably end up in the Supreme Court, all those signatures and all that stuff might be proven to be void. And then I don't know what the heck happens. And then think about this. This is the setup, though. This is where I think they're really actually going with this. In the last few days of his presidency, Joe Biden signed all those pardons for everybody. The January 6th committee, Dr. Fauci, Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden was given a pardon for it was like a whole period of 10 years, which is weird. I didn't know you could pardon people like that. But any crime from this time to this time, this date to this date, he was pardoned for, which is very, very odd. So basically what that says is they know he was doing criminal stuff in that time for his family and grifting money off the government. But that's a whole nother show. But anyways, he was pardoned for all that. Okay, so you can't really go after him for it legally because a president's pardon is absolute. It's once he pardons somebody, it's done. But here's the thing. If you can prove that either A, he wasn't the one using that auto pen signing those pardons, or B, he was completely out of his mind and didn't even know what he was doing, then those pardons might be void. And now you're talking about a whole lot of criminal convictions. Because let me tell you, everybody he pardoned was the ones attacking Trump with all this fake junk. All this, the whole Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, that whole January 6th group, all that stuff. Because, they think about it. They came up with that whole fake Jan 6 committee stuff. And then before they closed the committee down, they destroyed all the evidence. Because the evidence wasn't real. That's what they did. They destroyed it all because it was fake. It was made up. And then they dissolved the committee because Trump had won and there was no point in trying to pursue it anymore. All that stuff was criminal. Okay, well, not guaranteed to be criminal, but possibly criminal. We'll put it that way. So, but he pardoned all those people, knowing that the Trump administration would probably go after them when Trump got into office. But if it can be proven that Joe Biden was not the one signing his signature with that auto pen, because again, remember, it's a robot, basically computerized, that, for signing massive amount of documents, if they can prove that it wasn't him signing that auto pen, then now that's going to be void. And that's going to be crazy to see that bust wide open because, and again, I'm pretty sure that would end up going through court. Then it would probably go up to the Supreme Court. But if it's proven that that's what happened and they void those pardons, then the Justice Department's going to go wild, man, because all those people's butts is going to be hanging out in the wind. And it's going to be like, oh my God, they're going to be crapping their pants. And honestly, I'd love to see it. Because anybody that watched that thing for all that time go on knew that was all bull. It was all political theater. And they were just doing all that stuff hoping to try to stop Trump. And I do believe a lot of it was criminal. I do. You can't, they're up there lying under oath and all kinds of crazy stuff. And they all got pardoned. But if this voids all those pardons, man, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I can't wait. I hope it happens because, again, you could say, oh, well, that's vengeful. That's going back. But I don't think so, man. People have to pay the price or this will continue for, administrations all in the future. Because they're going to look back on this and go, well, what happened to these people for doing this? Well, if they went to jail, then the people in the future, they're going to go, nah, we're not going to do that. But if everybody keeps getting away with it all the time, they're never going to stop. But all right, guys. Well, I'll keep you updated when I see things happening on that. I'll let you know, and I'll talk to you soon. This is Ed from Studio 321. Have a good night.